Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Before we begin, why don't we have an encore round of applause for Sam McCracken for that incredible honor that he's so deserving of. Hi, Sam.
Oh, there he is.
My name's Kate Nelson. I'm Plinkett, and I am a writer and editor, and I've had the great pleasure of interviewing some of these incredible athletes who are up here on the stage with me. To kick things off, I'd just like to have them introduce themselves, say the community that you're from, and then I know we just learned it, but remind us the sport that you're involved in. Dakota, I think we might be able to tell what sport you're involved in.
Well, my name's Dakota Lewis. I'm from Browning, Montana, and I'm a professional bull rider, enrolled in the Northern Cheyenne tribe and born and raised on the Blackfeet Res in Browning, Montana.
I'm Gabby Barker. I am Shoshone Paiute, and I'm from Duck Valley, which is on the border of Idaho and Nevada. I am a professional golfer, and I have been pursuing this since 2018. And I love it, and I love being up here with all of you guys.
Ha'amawewe Nanietsa Janee Kassanavoid Nansei Namana. I am Janee Kassanavoid, and I am Comanche. I'm a professional track and field athlete for Team USA who specializes in the hammer throw.
Hello, how are you? My name is SilentRain Espinoza. I am Kumeyaay and Penobscot from San Diego and from Maine, and I'm a professional softball player.
And you're also accomplished in your respective sports. And I think it's really easy to get caught up on the accolades, the highlights, but that doesn't necessarily show all the hard work, the challenging days. So, what keeps you guys inspired when, maybe the training isn't going how you thought it would, or you're just maybe having a day where you're not feeling totally into it? What keeps you motivated?
That's a pretty good one. I don't know if my mic's on.
Mine's really loud and echoey, but anyways,
Yeah.
I guess I'll kind of kick it off. Growing up, I kind of envisioned myself to be like a professional basketball player. That was a dream. My niece said no. And then it kind of took this passion for like health and nutrition and getting my education in dietetics, and then taking this new challenge of a sport that I never really did growing up in track and field, and kind of having the opportunity to travel all around the world. It's a very individual sport, which makes it hard mentally, emotionally, and physically. But I think that challenge of stepping up to the plate and wanting to be the best and trying something new has been very exciting. And I've also made history, but just kind of wanting to keep setting new goals and embarking on new challenges is what's been pushing me and motivating me, and then being that light that I didn't have necessarily growing up to help inspire and empower the next generation. And all that Sam has kind of helped create as well. So being a part of that helps, and just because I said so, at the end of the day, I'm just a very stubborn, hard-headed, disciplined person, so it just comes naturally, and I'm just excited to take on new challenges.
I like that. Oh, my mic on?
I don't know. Talking to it. They'll turn your mic on.
Can anybody hear me? Hello. There it is. For me, growing up on a ranch, we've raised cows and horses, and I was involved in sports, and our community was big in basketball, wrestling, and cross country. And if coach would have put me in when I was, on my prime, we would have won state that year. No, for me, bull riding, it was kind of a way of life, the hardships that we all see on the res, the struggles, the ones that maybe don't see that light at the end of the tunnel. For me, that's what pushed me forward. I always heard these stories about, oh, so-and-so was very talented and could have went somewhere, but because of other circumstances, it didn't work that way, right? Well, I'm a father, and my dad, he was a big example for me in bull riding. He was an Indian world champion, and you know, to have a dad who had the accolades of doing the things that I wanted to do, I felt like I had the advantage. And my grandma, who was a heavy influence in my life, as most of our grandparents are, she was the one who just kept on pushing me as well, you know. She would kind of ask me like, why not? You know, if you're out there, you're doing it, you're putting your best effort forward, then, you know, you're putting your heart into something that's passionate, that shows that you love it, you know. In today's world, I know we all can kind of get caught up in the fast-paced living of how things are, you know, modern, it's 2025. Well, that's crazy to say. But, you know, me just going back to my roots and enjoy the process and just doing my best, you know, and I think it's so crazy that I'm here on a stage getting to talk among so many great people because of bull riding, you know, a small town kid from Browning, Montana that just dreamed of, you know, watching them guys on TV and just, you know, had that little bit of hope and held on to that each and every day, you know, and I seen the struggles, I seen friends and family go through it, you know, and that's what pushes me forward, you know. I don't ride just for myself. I ride for those who can't and those who want to, and that little bit of hope that we're all looking forward to, you know. My best friend, may he rest in peace, he had passed away last week, and he was a huge influence in my life. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't installed into how much push forward we want for one another. And it's all because of him that I'm able to sit here and tell in respects of him and show us, because, you know, we have such great talent amongst Indian country, you know. If we was to unite, we're gonna take over. And that's what we're here, and that's what Res is about, so. Somebody better take my mic. I'm gonna be talking all day.
Well, and both Janee and Dakota, you two touched on the idea of not necessarily seeing yourselves represented in the sport growing up, and also the importance of setting an example for future generations. Gabby, maybe you can touch on why is it so important that Native youth do see themselves represented in sports and across so many different sports?
I mean, I think it's very important. I mean, for me personally, I didn't have somebody that I saw myself in growing up, and I'm sure that's in all of our spaces. And, you know, and that's kind of why I do what I do. It's what drives me to be a professional golfer. It's what drives me to be who I am, because I want some, you know, young kid that is going to look at me and say, wow, she's Native American, she's, you know, she's accomplishing things, I can be just like her. And, you know, I'm fortunate to have a mentor, Notah Begay, in my life to be able to kind of show me the ropes of how that all works. And I don't know, it's just something that I believe that if we give back enough, you're just going to brighten somebody's day and actually show them exactly where they need to be and give them those challenges and those struggles for them, but that's what's going to make them who they are. That's what we all kind of talked about right now, is those challenges. And for me, that's what I feel like all of us are capable of. It's the capacity. I actually read this morning. It's the capacity that we all have as athletes to push ourselves past the struggles, past the adversity, past everything that we have, and that's what makes us so different. And that's exactly why I enjoy doing these things and seeing all these people out here, because you're here for a reason. You're here to get better at what you want to do.
Well, and I think,
Let's clap for that.
and those mentors are so important, but for many of you who are, you know, firsts, making headlines is the first, doing something that can be really exciting. It also can be isolating, can be difficult. SilentRain, can you talk about forging your path and what that's been like for you? Maybe some of the challenges that you've faced through that.
Yeah, kind of going back to what we've all been saying, we did not have that sort of mentor in the field that we were going into in sports to look up to. And kind of going back to what inspired you, I think when I was younger, it was more just my love and passion for the game and the competitiveness I had being on a team and just being an athlete. And I think a lot of it went back to me being so competitive with myself and wanting to be the best softball player that I could be is what kept me inspired at a younger age. But once I got into college, I played at the University of Washington, and I had a family that was waiting for me after the game that I didn't know, but looking at them, I could tell they were Native. And they came up to me and they were like, we drove 4 hours to come watch you play. We're from a tribe in Washington. And at that moment, that was when I knew I was playing for something bigger than myself. It was no longer about, you know, getting the best stats or doing all that, but in that moment, I was like, I'm on a platform now, and I'm going to use this to inspire the future generations of athletes. So.
And that's so beautiful. And of course, you're all doing that, right? Collectively and individually. Janee, I know your community, you're still so rooted in your community, and that's what really keeps you grounded. Can you talk about the importance of that? You know, you're on this world stage, and yet when you need to come back to yourself, you really think about where you're from and who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Lawson, Missouri, in the middle of nowhere, about 40 miles north of Kansas City. So I didn't grow up in a reservation or within a community of fellow Native relatives. My father kind of pulled my family and my siblings away from that for a better life and for more opportunities. So just having that sense of community, which I've tried so hard to grow into and to connect with on my own, following college and into this professional space. So for me, it's really just the backbone of my success, and it's what pushes me and what drives me, but also just gives me more empowerment to knowing who I am and where I come from, where we all come from, having that resiliency and that strength to push forward, to overcome what we've all been through, what our ancestors been through. You know, our ancestors survived so that we could thrive, and so that's just something that really helps push me in my sport, the day-to-day. Like, many of you may work a 9 to 5, but for me, I just work out for a living. I go out to the track from 9 o'clock and finish up at not 9 p.m., that's a lot, sorry. 9 a.m. to about 5 p.m., and then rest, recovery, fueling, hydration, all of that is so important. But also because of our communities, you know, health prevalencies and obesity and diabetes and alcoholism, cancer, everything that I also experienced firsthand growing up has also been a driving factor to just take care of myself and hopefully promote health and awareness among those around me as well, with sport and out of sport. So it's just coming back to community, unity, using my platform to strengthen us as a whole, see me, see us. Everything that N7 kind of promotes and is the mission is everything that I try to take on and to represent. So it means a lot.
Gabby, how about you? How does your...
Yeah, let's clap. We can clap for every answer because they're all pretty good.
How does your indigeneity, your community, you know, play a role in how you show up on the golf course?
You know, that's, it's kind of like I mean, it's an important question because for me, you don't see golf courses, you know, in Native communities. Like, it's very, very rare, and the few that there are, they are just thriving. Golf is thriving in such a new way since COVID, and to be able to, so like now I'm moved to Arizona, which is like the prime capital of golf, right? And to be able to just spend that time with these Native communities on these golf courses and getting to meet so many great people who I would have never gotten the chance to meet. It's just like, it's incredible to just see that golf in the space of the Native community is just beautiful, and it's thriving, and kind of got lost in the sauce there, but yeah, whirlwind. But no, I mean, it's beautiful. Golf is just a beautiful space, and to be able to get the Native youth out there and seeing what I can do and seeing what these communities have to offer is just amazing.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. All right, we can turn Dakota's mic back on, but just temporarily. We'll have to
Just for a little bit.
We'll have to
Just
cut
for
him
a little
off.
bit. You know how
if
I
it gets
get.
too
Start
long-winded.
getting crazy
but
out here.
you know, bull riding is really it's a sport, but it is a life. It is a passion. And so, can you just talk about how do you eat, sleep, breathe that, or do you ever turn that off?
Growing up, it's really the only thing that I wanted to do was to achieve what my dad had already achieved. He was a 2-time world champion, so my goal from the time that I could remember was to win 2 world champions in the Indian rodeo. And when I won 3, I was like, oh man, I surprised myself. Like, there's so much more out there, I'm young, I feel good, like I think I could do it. I think I could do it in the pros, and having that little bit of faith within my own self, I feel like that's just what fueled me forward. And bull riding, like I tell everybody, I put on clinics, I help youth events, and I'm more than willing to help if you want to do it. But my son, who is 7 years old, loves golf. And I am a huge supporter.
I think there's someone who can help you out with that.
I'm a huge supporter in that. And if he doesn't want to ride bull, I'm okay with that, because bull riding, it's life or death. One wrong step, that's it. And the reason why I do it is because I love it. And I know that Creator put it in my heart to be able to spread a good message in a good way across wherever I go, not just in Indian country. And show my kids, if you want to do something, and you do it with everything you got. It doesn't matter what it is. If that's what makes you happy, that's how you live your life, that's what it's all about. And, it's all in. And when I pull my hat down and tell them open that gate, I'm 100% all in with just everything that I'm doing. And I wouldn't be there if I didn't think I was the best, though. So I do have quite a bit of confidence in my own self, and that definitely plays into my own game. Them bulls, they don't care who you are or what you've done. You got to bring your A game every time. And so, it helps to have that little extra confidence in your gear bag for sure.
And I think that's an important lesson, the idea of, wherever, whatever space you're in, whatever you're doing to fully show up. We are in a room with Indian countries, top leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators, and even though the highs and lows they might face are slightly different than yours, I'm wondering, with the time we have left, if each of you could share, whether it's a lesson you've learned through the sport, a piece of advice you've gotten, or even advice that you have just about this idea of, persevering and, continuing on. Because we all face those days where we think, well, maybe I won't get on that bull, but what keeps you going? In no particular order, if someone wants to jump out. Janee, I see, Janee would like silent. Okay, answer first.
Something that I've learned recently just about myself is showing up in the softball world, in my personal life, just my most authentic self, and kind of going back to what we were talking about. I grew up on my dad's reservation in San Diego, and when I was younger, I danced culturally, and I was playing softball at the time, but I felt like I had to keep my culture and my sport separated. I feel like I was two people living in two different worlds, and as I've gotten older and just the people I've come across, and I've realized that my background and my culture is what has made me who I am and is the way that I show up in softball. So just trying to show up my most authentic self in every space that I'm in.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think going off of what SilentRain touched on of just showing up is huge. As most of you know, the Paris Olympics were this summer, and so unfortunately not making that team and not making the team in 2021, it hurts because like that's just what gives me and my sport validation and what makes you a really good athlete. But even if that never happens, 3 years from now is so long. But we're gonna try our best to get back to it. But just not having those LOI next to my name doesn't discredit me and the athlete that I am, because athletes have bad days, and that's okay. But as long as you to continue to show up and persevere and face adversity and overcome, I think my bigger purpose and my goal in sport is to inspire and empower and continue to create spaces and break barriers. Just showing up with a good character, a smile on my face, even in the face of defeat. Because in those moments, you want to crawl into a dark wall and just beat yourself up. But I'm sure most of you experience, like, life is hard and it takes you down. And sometimes you feel alone. But because of Sam and the N7 family and Nike and opportunities like this and being next to incredible athletes and just people, because at the end of the day, we're all people, we're not perfect. But just bringing me back to who I am and where I come from, and being Comanche and being Indigenous, being a woman, keep trying to pave the way for also female athletes. I think that's just the biggest thing, so.
I mean, I guess it's probably similar for all of us. But for me, I guess my biggest takeaways from the sport that I play is, you can show up to an organization, a job, a sport, anything like that, and you can be faced with adversity, you can be faced with challenges, even in a cultural aspect. And it's whether or not us as a person, are we willing to put our best foot forward? Are we going to give our all? Are we going to make sure that we are going to do the best that we can? Because I feel like everybody shows up, they can show up with the same skills, the same background, the same something, and it's whether or not you decide to push past all that. Are you going to have the capability to make sure that you are going to take that extra step? Are you going to go all out to become better than the same people who have the same skills as you? And that's something that I had to learn. I feel like I had the talent. I feel like I had the skill to show up to a golf tournament and say, I can win this thing. But what the difference is am I going to put in the hours, those extra couple minutes on the putting green, those extra couple hours on the driving range, or reading a self-help book or something that's going to set me apart from somebody else. And I think I learned that later on, which is kind of upsetting to me, because it's like if I would have just done that right off the get-go, maybe my trajectory in golf could have been slightly different. But maybe that's where I was supposed to be. Maybe I was supposed to learn those lessons and those challenges, and it's made me probably who I am today. I feel like that's kind of what we can relate to a lot of us here in sports, in work, in anything. It's like, are we willing to put in the extra effort? And I'll tell you that I am now. So yeah, I think that's probably my main thing that I've learned.
How about you, Dakota?
Are we back on?
You're back on.
Okay.
I have to say your name for them to turn it back on.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. For me, it's all about who you hang out with and who you surround with, who you work with, who you thrive with. Eagles hang out with eagles. If you want to soar, you can't be hanging out with pigeons. For me, being one of the few native bull riders on tour is, it's a dream come true. But I definitely wouldn't be able to say that if I didn't have great people to look up to see what's going on, the leadership in my own community, to see that what's going forward and just how we all evolved. And, I think it's so crazy. And my grandma told me this when I was a kid. She's like, oh, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to find somebody from Browning. I'm like, oh, what's that mean? Sure enough, they might not be from Browning, but like we had said, kind of looking across the room, you might see another native and kind of see you. But the amount of support that I've received, going all across the country, having people who's attended res, maybe come to res and seen a bull riding going on, and that's that one, that's that Indian guy, that's him. Let's hear your war hoop. Then everyone's, you got to watch me ride first, But now, you know, I'm so proud of where I come from and who my people are, and that's one thing that I really had value is don't ever forget who you are and where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, I'm just kidding. No, but for what Chris has done in the National Center and everybody involved, you know, this conference primarily to me, I mean, they're a sponsor of mine, but not only that, I've made family friends here. You know, I've made friends that are, or my family now, that call me on a daily and support me. And when they're in that area, you know, they may come watch me. So I value what Rez has done for me as an individual, and I value what the National Center has done for Indian country. So I thank you guys.
Well, and thanks to all four of you for, you know, sharing so openly and honestly and vulnerably, and also, you know, just for being shining lights in Indian country. Let's give our star athletes another round of applause.
Is there one thing that I could say?
All right, Dakota wants to say one more thing.
One last thing, I
Clear,
promise.
the clock says 0, but.
Sorry, Chris,
Dakota
I'm
has-
going over the list. But us as natives in our cultures, you know, we come from a lot of, we come from Creator. And I know my grandparents and my great-great-grandparents were utmost right respect for me and pushing me forward and helping me forward. How about we all stand up and just give a big round of applause for the elders who are here and the ones that ain't, because if it wasn't for any of them, this wouldn't be happening. So this is for you guys. You better cut my mic off.